Welcome. So we're back with our episode basically number 8, talking about the World Brewers Championship in Boston. We've been there, we've done it. We placed second. Kind of sucks. That's life. Let's move on. Reflecting, right? So this round is going to be about talking about our first round. So the competition is basically first round open, compulsory, and final. And we already done a reflection on compulsory, so this is the first round reflection, which in my world means open service. So before that, a shout out to Stephen, competitor of Ireland, which was next to me the whole time as well backstage. Roaster at Bailey's in Northern Ireland. I'm drinking his coffee now. I've been drinking a few cups of it since the competition. I've been trying a lot of the competition coffees. This is by far one of the tastiest coffees in the competition. They've done an amazing job roasting this coffee. It's absolutely delicious, and I think you guys should all check them out. Now, with that in mind, first round. So the first round starts on Friday. It basically starts with coming in 7 in the morning. I have compulsory on that day as well. So compulsory is I think at 10 o'clock. I have a 15-minute practice at 8:30, and I have the official open at 1 o'clock, so later after lunch. Again, we already talked about compulsory, so let's skip that for now and focus on the open. So I go in. The first thing we do is just to set up for the practice time. So usually what happens is that you have 1 hour practice the day before competing, and then you have 15 minutes practice on competition. The way that I always use that is to focus on the presentation. So I always do the presentation at least once before competition on competition day. I want to do it loud. I want to do it in front of everyone backstage, and I want to kind of show them that I'm here and I'm ready. It's just also a great time to get some different perspectives and have people watch it. So I basically set up everything the way I did on competition. So it's a great way for me and Joe to also prepare so that he knows what he's getting himself into and what's coming up. And so the process was basically, out of those 50 minutes, I have 5-minute prep and then a competition time of 10 minutes, right? So we didn't focus about sensory. Of course, we wanted to make tasty coffee. But we just focused on getting the presentation done and down with some music, everything time, the whole thing, 100%, no compromises. The same thing as if you were on stage. And this is, how I prepare myself, how I get ready for the competition day. So that's how it all started. Secondly, which we already had with us from first day, our coffee was tasting like shit. And I don't mean this in a kind of a pretentious way. Our coffee tasted amazing, but I'm a douchebag and I can't admit it. I say it in the kind of way that we came to Boston and the coffee really didn't taste good. And sure, we did score high in the open anyway, and I'm thankful for that. But it was a few hours of really intensive testing and changing. And we basically ended up having to I think we tried 12 different waters on that morning alone. We didn't change the actual recipe. We played around a bit with grind size. But we just kept on trying. It was so dry. It was so dry. And almost whatever we used in terms of water and everything was just so dry. And it was strange because we never experienced that dryness beforehand. And the only 2 changes we done was water and the roast machine. So we roasted on an Ikawa back home, but it wasn't the same Ikawa machine because the watts didn't work. So then the question was, did this new roaster bring any kind of dryness to the coffee? Which, we counted that by roasting a bunch of different profiles, and we had got the same dryness anyway. So then we figured out, okay, it's water. Water in the sense that the water we use back home is very, very fundamental different. So meaning that maybe we customize a brew approach and a roasting approach for this very specific water, and we didn't have it with us. So maybe we were fucked if we didn't have that. So that was really stressful. And we were brewing and brewing and brewing And the only slight solution we found was to start grinding the coffee very early on. So we tried to coffee ground, 30 minutes before brewing, 45 minutes before brewing. We think that cleaned it up a bit. But again, this is a process we've been practicing for many, many times before. So, it's still going to be a mystery for me where this comes from. And it's definitely a learning procedure and a learning curve where I want to try to understand this for future competitions. But the reality is we went up in the first round knowing that our coffee didn't taste good. And that's not a very fun place to be. But you fake it until you make it, because you don't know. You never know what other people have. You never know how compulsory it went. And the benefit that we had is that we had a coffee that, even though, the issue here was the dryness. So acidity is fine, flavor structure is fine, but we run the risk of having very low scores on body and aftertaste, which we could see as well as a big difference in the first round towards the final. So again, 82 points in the first round and 86 in the final. And that's because in the final, we didn't have the dryness in the cup, basically. More about that in the next video. And I think, here a lot of the kind of mental part of my training becomes interesting. It's not that I'm doing any kind of mental training. It's unfair to say, but, I do have a few things in mind, and, I read a lot of books and shit about the subject, and I have a process that I think works well for me. And in the end of the day, you just need to go up and do as good as you can. You're here to win. You act like a winner, and you smile and you go through it, right? You keep positive, you keep calm. There's no need to freak out. Freaking out doesn't help anyone. It's about showing the people sitting in front of you in your presentation the best version of you, the best version of your coffee. You freaking out is not going to help. It's going to stress yourself out. It's going to stress everyone around as well. So, we'll still try to keep it on the low end for sure. And again, I'm going to say this and this is not a critique towards the World Championships. I think the experience is always amazing, but this is to reflect on a national. So a lot of competitors are giving their organizer national a lot of shit for how they're doing things. And they do that with the argument that in the world everything is perfect, but in the world it's not perfect. There's going to be tons of stuff that you're not ready for. You walk in there and they have glass cups for the compulsory. They have a table that is crazy low, even if it's within range. They don't have any electrical plugs backstage. And there's so many things that are still very far from where you want it to be. And I think that's still mainly because brewers just don't have the same reputation as baristas. So, just go in and keep your mind in a positive place and surround yourself with positive people. Don't stress out, because that doesn't help you. Eat food. That's important. So that was pretty much it. We went up, did the first round, and I think the presentation went well. I was very comfortable. I was pretty happy with it. We had an issue with one of the brewers tipping off, which again, I've been practicing with that many, many times. So I knew that brewing wise, it doesn't matter. It will extract the same. For some people in the audience, they're freaked out, but I know my coffee, I know my brewers, I know how that would work. I know that the risk was there as well. So, it didn't really make any difference. And I think the process was relatively smooth. And the first thing I had in mind after the first round was like, okay, let's practice, right? Because I knew the coffee wasn't tasty. I was kind of crossing my fingers, hoping to move into the final. But I knew that if I would go with this presentation in the final, I wouldn't make it. Meaning I needed to make my coffee taste better. So that's what we kind of focused on. But I'm going to leave that for the final video, the final reflection video. And with that, I'm going to cut this short. And again, competing is not just one day, right? You need to go in there with the mindset of being in the final, and you need to plan and have a process for going all the way. Otherwise, you're not going to go all the way. So keep that in mind when you set out to do this in the beginning. Thank you.